This is the Conscious Hour, and let's get after AI and what is it really about and what are the liabilities in the future?
Empire of AI, Dreams and Nightmares, and Sam Altman's OpenAI, former reporter at the Wall Street Journal and MIT Technology Review. She leads the Pulitzer Center's AI Spotlight Series program for training journalists on how to cover AI. You should train everyone on how to understand AI, Karen. It's an amazing book.
Thank you so
why
much.
don't you start by talking about the title, what exactly you mean? For a lay audience, I suspect a lot of our audience are Luddites, so you really have to explain what artificial intelligence, artificial general intelligence is.
So AI is a collection of many different technologies, but most people were introduced to it through ChatGPT. And what I argue in the book, and what the title refers to, Empire of AI, it's actually a critique of the specific trajectory of AI development that led us to ChatGPT and has continued since ChatGPT. And that is specifically Silicon Valley's scale at all costs approach to AI development. AI models in modern day, they are trained on data. They need computers to train them on that data. But what Silicon Valley did and what OpenAI did in the last few years is they started blowing up the amount of data and the size of the computers that need to do this training. So we are talking about the full English language internet being fed into these models, books, scientific articles, all of the intellectual property that is being created, and also massive supercomputers that run tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of computer chips that are the size of dozens, maybe hundreds of football fields, and use practically the entire energy demands of cities now. So this is an extraordinary type of AI development that is causing a lot of social, labor, and environmental harms. And that is ultimately why I evoke this analogy to empire.
So you heard what she said, and there's more to that story. AI doesn't understand humanity, the word humanity, to be humane, to be respectful, to have a endpoint that is, I'll use the word, heaven on earth, making it great for everybody. Instead, AI is a machine that wants more data and more data and more data and more data. And the problem is you have to build these incredibly large centers that suck up massive amounts of energy, some of them more than the city of New York. To do what? Make the world better? Look what we're witnessing going on now with the drones in the air and all the surveillance, and they're killing people using AI. This is where we're headed. It's not going to stop because we're stuck in this military-industrial complex game of winning. Always making more profits, more profits, more profits, more profits. Well, the root of all evil is money, and it will be the demise of the world if we don't put AI in check and use it for strategic problem solving, but not for running the world, not for making decisions, because it has no soul.
In Chile, what is happening there around these data centers and the water they would use and the resistance to that?
Yeah, so Chile has an interesting history in that it was under a dictatorship for a very long time. And so during that time, most public resources were privatized, including water. But because of an anomaly, there's one community in the greater Santiago metropolitan region that actually still has access to a public freshwater resource that services both that community as well as the rest of the country in emergency situations. That is the exact community that Google chose to try to put a data center in. And they proposed for their data center to use 1,000 times more fresh water than that community used annually.
So you heard what she said. So let's talk about the Columbia River. The Columbia River has now huge data centers in the Dalles, and they have 3 huge cooling facilities. In other words, they have to pump hundreds of thousands of gallons of water out of the Columbia River, cool it off, and then put it back in. They're going to build another data center, so there'll be 4. Okay, so all that water has to come out. It has to be cooled off, treated, put back in, but the energy consumption is massive. And so here we're sitting here in this world where these data centers are going to be built, like in Memphis. They built one. Yeah, Elon Musk built one in Memphis. It sucks up so much energy that the electricity company can't even supply energy to it. So what do? They bring in gas-fired generators, and the amount of methane gas that's being released there is so toxic that the community is getting poisoned. Now, we have to ask the question, what the hell do we need all this data for? Because it's AI. Because they think that all this data is going to make the world better, and in fact, it's going to destroy humanity. It's going to take out our resources. It's going to fuck up the world. I've got a better plan. The plan is simple. We don't need to be collecting data on top of data on top of data. We don't need to be going into this coin revolution where we have to suck up and blockchain and we have to track all this with energy, electricity, and water resources for what? To have a world where everybody can live? No. We're going to destroy it with high technology. And we're going to do another chapter later, and it's called Money and the difference between old style money, the new style digital money, and the solution for that. This is the Conscious Hour. Always thinking about what's the problem, find a solution, implement it. We'll do the one on money later. Thanks for tuning into the Conscious Hour.